My stomach drops with the shuttle. Rotten hell, I mutter, one hand flying to catch the overhead straps, the other snapping to my forehead to keep my circlet from tipping off. It's a gusty day over at Cano, and the pilot isn't doing us any favors. My eyes catch Wen's across the hold. She gives me the subtlest shake of her head, a wry smile twisting her lips. I know she wants to storm the cockpit as badly as me. The pilot couldn't stop either of us if we demanded he hand over the controls. But both of us have higher duties than shouldering through turbulence. So I grit my teeth through the utterly avoidable rattling and try to bend my focus back to my responsibilities for today. Beneath my feet sprawls a Cano, a newly liberated Archon city, and the capital of Osar, a newly liberated Archon system. We've strung the second jewel in our belt after a month of fighting like hell, and all that my thoughts keep circling back to is that it's been a month since Gal slipped past our fleet and disappeared into the black. Because you let him, an ugly voice in my head reminds me. Because you gave him the rotten hell and told the fleet to let it go. And then Gal refused, kissed me breathless against its hull, and told me he wasn't doing a damn thing I said. I took him at his word. I wanted so badly for it to be real, for him to be choosing me, siding with me, throwing off the shackles of his bloodright to fight this war at my side. It was the happiest I'd been in months. I practically floated out of that hangar. As far as I can tell from the tattered scraps of the security logs, the moment I left was the moment Gal got to work. He hadn't meant a word of it. All along he'd been biding his time, waiting for his opening. From the holes in the camera footage and the drugged guards we discovered left in their wake, it seems his team sprang Hanji from her cell, rendezvoused with Gal, stole the power suit, and flew the rotten hell free from the Torrens core without a single person lifting a finger to stop them. If it hadn't torn my heart out, I'd almost be impressed. Another gust of wind shakes the shuttle, and I let out a soft groan. No weather's ever been enough to put a fear of flying in me, and I've flown through a hell of a lot worse. But the grating on my nerves is the last thing I need ahead of today's event. 5 minutes to the drop, the horrible pilot announces over the intercom. Wen rises from her bench, resplendent in platinum-trimmed tack armor that almost makes up for the fact that she should be wearing that power suit. Her feet are encased in a pair of boot prototypes, welded to a carbon fiber exoskeleton that frames her hips, a poor substitute, but enough to get her airborne. Her vibro-sword hilt is latched to the magnetic sling on her waist, a reminder that power-suited or not, she's still the Flame Knight. To top off the look, her shoulders are mantled by a fine emerald cape that's been cut with vents. It takes the breath out of me a little to see her like this, though certainly some of that comes from the wound Hanji bored through my gut 2 months ago. Wen Ifans come a long way from the chaotic little troublemaker I found on the streets of Isla. I had no way of knowing the girl dressed in rags trying to sell me a skip ship with no engines would one day single-handedly win the battle for my birth system by taking out a dreadnought with nothing more than a power suit and her sheer force of will. But there was a little voice in my head that day telling me to bet on her, a little voice that's never steered me wrong. "You're staring," she says, checking over the straps of her armor. "Again. Can you blame me?" When her eyes catch mine, my smile falters. No happiness of mine can stand up under scrutiny, especially not hers. I've tried to keep the effect Gal's abandonment has had on me concealed, throwing myself headlong into the war effort. I've been burning myself out on strategy meetings and resourcing meetings and gods of all system know whatever else I can involve myself in, praying that somewhere in the middle of all of it, I'll shovel enough into the hole Gal left inside me to patch it over.